Going into the weekend, we are going to be covering a lot of stuff with DC Fandom and everything happening with that on October 16th. So the 16th and 17th are going to be really busy, and I thought we should break it up here before that with a little Nintendo video about Metroid, because I really love Metroid. It's something I haven't talked about much on this channel, but I am trying to do a better job of covering some of Nintendo's stuff, because I really do believe that they have some of the best exclusives out there. I think that Metroid is a fantastic series that often has gone neglected, and new numbers provided to us by Shine Sparkers, which is a Metroid fan site, actually do prove something I've been saying for a long time about a lot of these types of games. Nintendo exclusives that are sort of semi-disappeared right now, like F-Zero or Star Fox, or even games that have seen a resurgence like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and that's that games don't necessarily need to die if you make them good. This might sound like a no-brainer, but companies don't seem to be able to wrap their heads around this with impossible sales figures they need to reach up to. We've seen that before with things like Spyro or Crash, where it's disappointing despite doing really well, partially due to franchise neglect for a decade. But also we've seen it even with other things more in the mainstream, like Tomb Raider from Square Enix, where there was the idea of a disappointing Tomb Raider series despite sending out 7 million copies. It's interesting what the expectations are, and I believe that this is an indication that times might be changing a little bit. I think gamers remember games, whether there's a bit of franchise neglect or not, and that interest can always be restoked, because Metroid Dread has outsold almost every other Metroid game right now in Japan, as of the day this was recorded, and as of October 11th, 2021, Metroid Dread is number 1 on the Switch United Kingdom eShop sales chart. And also on the Wii U, there has been a massive resurgence of purchases of the old Metroid games too, to get them again, partially probably because those cartridges are really overpriced if you don't buy them digitally, with Metroid Fusion being at the top of the Wii U eShop, Metroid Zero Mission being number 2, the Metroid Prime Trilogy re-release from the Wii on the eShop being number 7, and Super Metroid being number 9, along with the 3DS even seeing a massive boost in Metroid sales with Samus Returns. So that is a lot to run through. Basically, Metroid Dread came out and it dragged up the sales of all previous Metroid games still available digitally, and it also has outdone itself in terms of franchise performance, which is interesting because I was actually looking at the previous entry in this series on VG charts, which is the best we have to go off of a lot of times with physical sales. Sadly, it becomes less reliable the further on we go because of digital, but the previous Metroid game that actually came out was Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, and that sales history is a lot lower than what Metroid Dread is reportedly doing. Because the sales history for Metroid Samus Returns actually pointed to sales of less than 1 million copies new out of the box. It was actually estimated to be around 560,000. I often add a good amount to this, especially with the 3DS, where digital sales were pretty strong. We're probably looking at still under 1 million units sold, but not 560,000, more than that. I just think it's interesting because a lot of these game companies, right, Nintendo's included in this, they have a lot of really cool IPs. Some of the biggest ones I can think of, again, and I said it before, Crash, Spyro, Metroid is one that is often actually neglected, Star Fox, F-Zero, another one would be Silent Hill, even Metal Gear now. A lot of really cool franchises go neglected for years, but you always see this excitement when they're going to come back. Now, my worry is that some of these companies will take the wrong message from it. I don't think the message is that every time you release something, you have to kill it off for a decade to get that fanfare going again. And I also don't think you need to Activision it with something like Guitar Hero or Call of Duty, where you have a new game coming out every other time you blink. I think that there is a happy middle ground in the middle here where you could release these games fairly frequently enough to satisfy consumer demand and make them good without making consumers wait a decade or so. I think it's interesting how a lot of these companies will end up releasing these games years and years apart, and still consumers come back. Despite what Activision has to say, people came back for Spyro Reignited. People came back for the Crash Insane trilogy, even Crash Team Racing. People came back, and they were excited. You can see it now. This might date the video a little bit, but with all the rumors right now when this was recorded of new Silent Hill project, of a possible Metal Gear remake, of Castlevania maybe returning, all those are Konami, but those are franchises that have been left dormant for years. But you know what gamers are excited for? A possible new release that is good in a franchise that they liked. And if you do it right, you can even bring in previous people who weren't into the franchise or never played it. Who do you think is going back and buying all those old Metroid games? Yes, I'm 100% sure that some of them are mega fans of the series wanting to show Nintendo they're interested. But I also bet that a lot of those people are people who saw Metroid Dread, they saw the marketing for it, thought, hey, this looks really cool, bought it, played some of it, and decided, I better get these other games before I can't. We don't even see the people tracking down physical copies. I have a physical copy of Fusion, not of Zero Mission or a lot of the others, but the thing with a lot of those old physical copies is you can now only really buy them secondhand from resellers or previous owners, and they are pretty overpriced. They're a lot of money. So this is the easiest way for fans to get these games. Also, by the way, a positive for digital, because it does show Nintendo that people are interested. And I think it's really cool. I hope that this sends the right message. I hope this shows Nintendo, hey, you got some really cool IP that aren't just Mario or Wario or Smash Bros. Maybe let's bring some of those back again, maybe let's bring back Metroid again a little sooner than Samus Returns and this. There wasn't much for a long time. Maybe we bring back, maybe we bring back F-Zero at some point, Kid Icarus. There's a lot of stuff out there, Star Fox. I want to see that. And I really do hope that game developers start kind of satisfying that demand, because the numbers are there and this just proves it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you play Metroid Dread? What are your thoughts on old games coming back and releasing new entries? I really only want to see this if it's good. I'm not somebody who wants to see a new garbage Silent Hill, one that's bad. I don't want to see a new bad Star Fox game or anything like that. I want to see these franchises return that are pretty much long-lasting if they can be made well. Because I think that there is always going to be a demand for good video games, good movies, good comics, good whatever. Let me know what you think down there. Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content if you enjoyed this. I hope to join you, or I hope you will join me, that's a weird way to say that, starting tomorrow, or the 16th if you watch this later, for DC Fandom coverage. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff. And actually, I have something planned for Nintendo next week again, so if you like this video, please be sure to come back then. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.